And good evening, everyone. This is amateur meteorologist Cameron Fry with your 2013-2014 winter weather update video. In this video, we're going to talk about some of the latest winter weather developments that have occurred just this week, and we're going to unpack them all so that you know what to expect between now and, say, heading into Super Bowl Sunday weekend. There's still plenty of cold left in the tank, and that's going to be the dominant theme of the rest of the month, and perhaps an increased shot of some wintry precipitation. Now, so far in Nashville, many locations have only experienced 1 to 2 inches of snow. Believe it or not, this isn't that far below normal. And there's reason to believe that we could see the most snow that we've seen out of a single storm in quite some time, since at least February 2011. So that's almost been 3 years. So there's definitely a lot of exciting buzz going around the weather world these days. So I'm going to try to unpack it the best I can so that you can get caught up to speed and know what to expect in the next 3-4 weeks. So yesterday, when the 12Z model suites came out, forums across the Southeast went abuzz because they saw incredible model agreement between the GFS, the Global Forecasting System, and the Euro, your two primary weather models. And what they saw was a very cold look in the eastern third of the United States and also the upper Midwest. That P&A ridge spiking northward, great amplitude as it projecting, even above Canada. I mean, you're talking almost, cross polar here, and allowing that cold air to stream southeasterly from western Canada into our neck of the woods. So, what we saw at 12Z yesterday, incredible model agreement that we haven't seen in a very long time. That's basically the gist of it. Looking out 240 hours into the future and seeing just remarkable agreement that we haven't really seen this year. So that really caught our attention, and everyone was going crazy. Is it premature to get excited? Yes. However, what I hope to express in this video is that we're seeing more ingredients line up in the right order as we head into February. So in our quest to discover patterns in the long range, let's look at the 12Z Euro that came out yesterday, and let's peek out to 240 hours. You can see again that high amplitude ridge, with high heights just extending, north of Alaska. That seems to be a very consistent feature between now and the next week and a half or so. You could also see there's a little bit of a trough east of Hawaii that may shoot a disturbance into the southwest. We'll see what happens in the coming days with that. Real quickly, I want to tell you some of the things I've learned in recent days from watching the latest weather risk video that came out yesterday. We're in a positive TNH pattern, and this pattern is responsible primarily due to the warmer than normal temperature anomalies up near the Gulf of Alaska. Now, a lot of amateur meteorologists like myself, we see the ridge out west and we say, oh, that's a positive PNA. And in part we're correct, but not quite. It's mainly as a result of this positive TNH, which I didn't even know existed till this year. That's definitely the biggest thing I've learned this year. But it's directly tied to those warmer than normal sea temperatures that you could tell, like if you go back to the previous graphic, the 12Z Euro 240, you could totally see what I'm talking about, and just allowing that colder air to spill into the central and eastern third of the United States. Another thing I've learned is something called linkage. This happens when you have a negative eastern Pacific oscillation, that Gulf of Alaska ridge that continues to build, and it builds so far that it crosses over and connects to a ridge on the other side of the globe from, Russia. And what that does is that it entraps the polar vortex, which, as many of you know, made a pretty brutal appearance January 5th through 7th here in the eastern United States. And that kind of traps it. Some of the coldest months we've seen on record here in Tennessee have happened when linkage occurred, and that's something that is a decent possibility again. Now, again, I'm not saying it's going to be as cold as December 1989 or as cold as it was many of those winter months in the late 70s, but it's on the table. The idea is a definite probability. It's not just an outside chance. It's definitely probable. And you could see the gentleman over at NOAA and HBC, they've totally bought into this, very cold temperatures. So the odds in the next 6, 7 days, and also 8, 14 days, I didn't post that graphic, but the next 2 weeks, the further east you go, the colder it is. The further west, southwest you go, the warmer you get. And really, this is a map more of the probability that you'll be either below or above average or neutral. Let's look at a series of 500 millibar charts, shall we, from yesterday's GFS. We've seen a parade of clippers, duh, pretty obvious, and that will continue through this weekend and into next. The clipper train does not show signs of relenting anytime soon, at least in the next 5, 7 days, but it will change. Eventually, we're going to get these clippers out of here, and we're going to actually see early next week temps moderate. MLK Day will be the warmest day in the next 7 days. However, colder air down the pike, the next Tuesday, Wednesday time frame, we're going to see the cold establish itself again, and the odds for below average temperatures increases. And the GFS has been very consistent with this. We're probably going to be in the mid to low 30s next Wednesday and Thursday. Too early to tell next weekend. Now that previous graphic was, next week. This is again looking into that 10, 14-day time frame, and again, look at the consistency. These are departure from average at 500 millibars, and you can see we're in that blue dot, bullseye right over the Ohio, Tennessee River valleys. And the GFS, even though it's not so good in the kind of the medium range, it's very good at picking out patterns in the long range. It's been very good this winter at finding, cold patterns. It's had its issues in the 3 to 7 day range, but again, what am I trying to say? It's going to get cold again. It may not be as cold as it was January 57 when the polar vortex flirted with the northern plains and in southern Canada. But yeah, that's the bottom line. It's going to get really cold. Let's look at the GFS model 240 hours out. So we saw the Euro at 240 hours out earlier. Again, amazing consistency. If we could just get a southern slider, get that split flow, get that, tap into that southern jet stream. The energy with the southern jet's been very inactive this winter, just so we could get that merge of the cold air and the moisture. Some of our best snows have come with southern sliders. They just kind of get that low pressure riding through the southwest into Texas and just to our south, so we could stay in the cold sector. But at least we know that the cold's going to be on the table. For the 12Z GFS came out, obviously you had the 0Z and the 6Z GFS that came out. We're going to compare these two real quick. This was off the American WX form. You can see how both paint that negative EPO, very consistent. The primary reason why we've been able to stay cold despite the lack of an Arctic oscillation being negative and the NAO being positive. It's allowed those cold shots to swing from Western Canada southeasterly into our region. The culprits in our lack of snow and wintry precipitation has partly been due to the AO or NAO. But the AO, it's been mostly positive, but starting to trend negative. And it's going to rise a little bit next week towards MLK Day, but it's going to drop again. And that's something that is relatively new. At this time last week, it looked like it was going to go positive and the last 10 days of January be warmer than average. Boy, has that changed. And you could see the GFS 2-meter temperature plot. GFS overdoes the cold. It's probably not going to be this cold. I mean, we're going into January 27th here. I'm going to just show you real quickly the 27th to 29th time frame, kind of maybe the bullseye of the cold. I think we're probably going to be 10, 15 degrees warmer. That's just my gut. But you're still talking about single digits. Again, I don't think we'll go below 0 like we did, or at least some of the outlying areas did. But it's still, you got to look broad. You got to look, zoom out a little bit and see what the GFS is telling us. And it's saying we're going to finish this month way colder than normal. All right, just for kicks, let's look at the GFS 360-hour snowfall total map. You can see evidence of a southern slider on here, that's for sure, where everyone in Tennessee wins and cashes in on 4 to 6 inches of snow. It's a beauty. No one gets left out in this. And this is after one potential storm in the extended. Not saying it's going to happen, but, it's out there. And then if we get another storm on top of the first one, then we could see 8 to 10 inches of snow between the two storms. How about that? That's a lot of snow. Now, again, hear me out. Am I saying we're going to get this much snow? Absolutely not. I'd be shocked if we even got half of it. What I am saying is that the weather pattern that we're entering into after we get this parade of clippers out of here, it's still going to stay cold, but hopefully the pattern can change to where we can get more moisture supply, and that will increase our chances of seeing more snowy systems moving into the southeast United States.